Darren Chester, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, great to be with you.
Born and raised in Gippsland, is it where your love of Gippsland comes from that is apparent through everything we see on social media, etc.?
Yeah, I think so, Greg. Look, I was lucky in the sense that I grew up in Sale, so had a great upbringing in Sale and went to local schools. As family, we travelled, we've got family all around Gippsland, a lot of cousins, and spent a lot of time in Lakes Entrance as a kid in Glenmaggie, where we've got another family property, so not my own family, but my cousin's place. And then I worked in Latrobe Valley a bit as well when I first left school. So I had a pretty broad upbringing all around the Gippsland region, and I love the environment of our region, and I think the people in Gippsland are great people, very resilient and very resourceful. I mean, look at what our region produces, so it's a great region to live in, and I was fortunate to bring up my own 4 children in East Gippsland, so it's been the region's been great to me, and I love it.
And the Love Gippsland tag you used, that was your idea?
Yeah, look, it's been out there for about 4 or 5 years now, and I use the Love Gippsland tag on my running shirts. I do a fair bit of running from time to time, and I want to reassure people there's more than one shirt. There's about 20 of them, but I'll probably need to get a bit of rebranding going soon and maybe a new design. But it's just to try and instill a bit of pride in our region, to encourage people to think a little bit about the great things Gippsland does have to offer. Sometimes in the media and in general commentary, people are a bit negative about regional towns and regional communities, but I think the best days of Gippsland are still coming, and there's ways we can achieve even better things together.
You mentioned your 4 kids. Do they help Mum around the house because you're away a lot?
We've been lucky with our kids. We've got 2 older girls and the 2 boys. They've all been heavily involved in sporting and community activities, which I think has been helped them mature as young people. But you're right, politicians' jobs do take them away from home a lot and does put extra burdens on families, and I think that's something that is a constant nagging issue in my own mind about when you're doing this job, you are sacrificing in terms of your own family environment. So when I get home, I try to make sure I'm actually home. I'm not still sitting there doing emails or too much work while I'm in the lounge room. So try to disconnect from work when you can. But it is a bit of a 24/7 job.
Do they give you political advice, Dad? Your government, tell the PM to do this or that?
Not quite as specifically as that. I think they ride the highs and lows even more so than the individual themselves. So when I was sacked from cabinet by Barnaby Joyce, it's fair to say that he wouldn't have been that welcome in my house that weekend. My kids were pretty annoyed about that, and they take it very personally in that regard. Whereas to some extent, I take it more professionally that that's the rough and tumble of the game, but they probably took that very personally. So not so much political advice, but they certainly do ride the highs and lows of the job with me.
When Barnaby did that, because you were infrastructure and transport and he took that away from you, how did you feel about that?
Oh, look, I think I explained myself pretty well to the community at the time that I was disappointed. I thought it was the wrong decision. I thought it was made for the wrong reasons. So I made that clear. But I wasn't going to drop my bundle over it. I wasn't going to be somebody's going to sook about it and then go and plot and scheme and try and get revenge. It's not an energy that I want to. Well, it's not something I want to apply my energies to. It just didn't see much point in doing that. So, I took a very, I guess, a longer term view that it would give me a chance to get stuck into some of the other projects I was interested in from the backbench. And as it turned out, history was quite kind to me in the sense that I ended up back in the Veterans Affairs portfolio only a matter of 4 or 5 months later. So I didn't have that much time on the backbench after all. But the Veterans Affairs and Defence Personnel portfolio has been probably even more satisfying in terms of being able to directly make a difference in people's lives in the veteran community, and that's an area where I'm very keen to continue my work.
And we'll come back to that portfolio in a tick. Staying on Barnaby, though, is he a help or a hindrance to the party?
Look, it's not for me to comment on individual personalities. I mean, he's won his seat back, so the people of New England have decided that he's the right local member for them, and I wish him well. I don't harbour any ill will to Barnaby. I think, as I said, I think he made a poor decision at the time, but life moves on. Michael McCormack's now in that portfolio and doing a good job, and I'm pleased to see some of the decisions I made. So some of the money commitments we got to Gippsland, I see those projects projects rolling out as I drive around Gippsland today. So I didn't waste my time in that portfolio. There was some good work going on. I mean, for example, by this time next year, there'll be 6 new overtaking lanes between now and the New South Wales border on the highway. That's 6 new overtaking lanes over a period of 6 years. That's improving safety. There'll be people who will be alive in years to come because we did that work. We won't know who they are because they're accidents we're going to avoid. But those 6 new overtaking lanes are really going to improve safety on that road.
And that's been a passion of yours, road safety. I know you've been very keen to see those kind of projects done and others like that. We've got a lot of roads throughout your electorate, don't we?
Yeah, and I think road safety is something that I am passionate about because I think we can improve our performance. In days gone by, Victoria, to some extent, was probably a world leader in terms of reducing road trauma, and we've slipped a bit, and I think we can do better. And, it's about safer roads, it's about safer drivers, it's about safer cars, and it's about safe speeds, driving at the right speed for the conditions. So governments have been very good at blaming it all on the drivers, but you've got to provide safe roads as well, and you've got to try and take some of the risk out of the road environment. And I think there's more work that we can do on that. And keep in mind, the majority of people who have a serious crash have that crash on a road they know, very close to home, normally within about 5 k's of home, normally on a corner they've driven past many times before. So we just can't afford to be complacent.
You can't please all of the people all the time as an MP or as a government minister, and you can't do, I guess, what everybody would like you to do. Is that difficult? Do people get shirty at you, or why doesn't this or that happen?
Oh, look, you've got to accept in these jobs, in these public jobs, the good with the bad. I mean, the good is when you get good results and people are happy with you, and the bad is when you make a decision that people aren't happy with, and they let you be known, let it be known to you. I've got to say, Gippslanders, by and large, even when they disagree with me, do it in a very respectful way. I could probably count on one hand the number of times in the last 10 or 11 years where I've thought people have acted inappropriately or been a bit over the top with their criticism. Normally, people are very respectful of the role. They recognise you can't get everything done in the timeframes they necessarily want. But I'm as frustrated as other people too, in the sense that I want to see things move more quickly. When you get money, you get commitment to a project, I want to see it happen faster. I want to see that work done, then you move on to the next project. So I can understand why people sometimes get a bit frustrated with the time delays between a project being announced and the actual work starting, because I share some of that frustration.
So just to a couple of policy areas, one of the dominant issues in the election campaign was climate change. I know the Liberal Nats, you have some policies around that. Do you and your colleagues understand the feeling, though, that some people have that maybe that's not enough, that the issue is becoming perhaps a bit more urgent?
I think there is a real worry around the issue of climate change, that we are creating climate change anxiety in the community to some extent as well, where people are actually waking up feeling very anxious about it and feeling like everything's going to change overnight and it's adding stress to their lives. I think we should be really focused on the practical things we can do to support and sustain the environment. So whether that is practical land management issues through land care, or rejuvenation of land care where you improve streamside health, you get rid of pest, plants and animals, things that actually make a demonstrable difference on the local environment, are things that I think would actually give people more confidence that we're heading in the right direction. In terms of climate change more broadly, we do have to reduce our emissions. We've made international commitments to do that. And I think it's important that we explain to people that Australia contributes less than 2% of the total global emissions. So even if we shut down every industry in Australia, we stop driving our cars, we shut down our power stations, we don't have any more of those industries, global emissions can only go down by less than 2%. It's not going to change the temperature of the planet. So we actually have to do our share, but we have to have a strong economic base so that we can still prosper as a nation, still have a manufacturing sector, still have the jobs that people want to have into the future as well, still drive our cars. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge between doing enough, doing the right thing, doing our bit for future generations, but don't mug the economy on the way through.
You're continuing in your roles with defence personnel and veterans and so on. You've said that there's more work to be done in that area. Jackie Lambie certainly said that on election night. I saw her saying that that's an issue obviously she's passionate about and more needs to be done. Do you expect to see her knocking on your door?
Oh, look, I hope Jackie engages on the issue in a constructive way. I mean, it's very easy to be on the sidelines at a football match and yell abuse at the umpire. And Jackie in the past has been a bit like that as a senator, just sort of yell abuse at the minister rather than engage positively in change. I mean, the change that's gone on in the Veterans Affairs portfolio in recent years has been very substantial, and I've conducted probably, I think, about 20 round tables with veterans this year already, and the feedback I've received has been very constructive. They're certainly saying there's things we can do better, but they're also saying we've improved enormously. And there's no nation in the world that does more to support its veterans than Australia, and we should be proud of that. As Australians, we provide more than $11 billion per year for our veterans, so veterans and their families, I should say. That's something that we do because we recognise the unique nature of military service. So we should be proud of it, but we shouldn't rest on our laurels because there's more things we can be doing. And when I say more things, I'm talking perhaps a bit on the mental health side. I think there's more work we can be doing there. Certainly more we can do with the transition from the Australian Defence Force into civilian life. So I think there's more work we can do as a community in support of government programs that already exist.
And you've got some goals for, the first 100 days or something?
Absolutely. It's important, I think, as a minister, as a local member, to set timeframes, to put some pressure back on the department. And one of the things I've said to them, I want to have a mental health summit. So I want to have a mental health summit with leading experts in mental health who are involved with the veteran community. And that's about pulling it all together, saying, well, what are we already doing? What's working well? What's not working well? What else can we do around these issues of veterans' mental well-being, veteran suicide, issues around self-harm? Is there more we can be doing at state level and federal government level in partnership with the ex-service organisations? Because I think everyone wants to do the right thing. It's just a question of saying, well, what's the best thing and can we replicate that right around Australia?
2 years before we had the vote on same-sex marriage, you put your hand up and said, yes, I'm for that, which is a very bold thing for you to do as a Nat, but you actually really worked hard at forming your opinion on that, didn't you?
That came over a period of several years, and I think it's a good example of where you can engage with younger voters in particular and pick up on the fact that there is change happening in the community. So when I first started in Parliament, my view was the broader Gippsland community was opposed to same-sex marriage. I didn't have any definitive research, but that was, I thought, the broader view of the community. But over a period of years, as I attend a lot of school functions, I meet with school groups quite a bit, and again, the kids will raise questions and they'll express their opinion on different things. I thought I was detecting a real groundswell of change amongst younger voters, and at the same time amongst a lot of older voters who knew gay nephews or sons and daughters or cousins or whatever it might be had changed their mind a bit as well. Not everyone had, but I thought the mood was on for a change. And I was very uncomfortable with the rate of suicide among young males, particularly in regional areas. And I'm not saying that was the only reason for same-sex attracted young males to be self-harming, but it was part of the reason, and they weren't being accepted. And I thought this would be a very strong signal to the community that live and let live. No one's going to make this compulsory. It's your choice, and respecting that choice, I thought was the right thing to do. And I think if there's anything positive to come out of that vote, that postal vote, was that it actually vindicated the stance that people were taking, because the result was compelling. More than 80% of Australians voted, more than 60% of Gippslanders said yes. So that was an overwhelming majority.
When you came out with that position on that, how difficult was that for you in terms of local pushback and even from the local branch of the party?
Oh, there was criticism, absolutely. That's one of those circumstances where there's going to be criticism. But all I wanted people to do was to have a respectful debate on the issue and perhaps agree to disagree, respectfully agree to disagree. My vote was only worth one vote in the end, and it was in the postal ballot, and I respected the ballot when I went and cast my vote then in the House of Representatives. But I told people very openly what I was going to do, and no one was under any false illusions about what my plan was. So I voted yes in the ballot, and then when it came to the House of Representatives to vote on the legislation, I respected the result of Gippslanders, and Gippslanders said yes. So, I think in the end it ended up nice, friendly, and people accepted it. But there were times there during the debate where it was a bit heated, where you're right, there was a fair bit of criticism pushed my way. But you don't go into public life expecting to get bouquets of flowers every day.
As a Nat, you can't be PM, but you'd love to be Deputy PM, surely.
It's not something that is exercising my mind, or it's not something I'm even working towards. I've really got to the point in my career where I see my role very clearly as being an absolute champion for Gippsland and achieving great results for Gippsland. So that's my first priority in terms of my professional life, is achieve great things for Gippsland and be remembered as someone who always stood up for Gippsland. So people would know that I'm on their side. I'm someone who's working for this great community. Then if other jobs come my way, like the Veterans Affairs and Defence Personnel portfolio, do that to the best of your ability. Just do that to the best of your ability. Listen to people who are smarter than me. Listen to people who have a lived experience which is different to mine, and then try and deliver practical outcomes for them that make a difference in their life. So, whether that leads to other jobs in the future, I mean, that's completely out of my hands. And I don't lay in bed at night, plotting and scheming, thinking about the next move. I lay in bed at night thinking about what's tomorrow's diary look like and can we get it all done in one day, and will the Sydney Swans win on the weekend?
Politically, though, you are still a young man. You're 51, so still plenty of time to keep working your way up the ladder.
It's a great thing about politics is that as my sporting prowess diminishes, so, used to play basketball, football, go for runs, everything else, as that diminishes, your political prowess actually improves over time. You get more experience and and hopefully you become a little bit wiser and you understand how our system works, and so you should be able to achieve more results. So it's great being seen as someone who's young and up and coming in politics, because every other pursuit at 50 you're on the way out the door. So no, I think politics is an honourable profession. I know we have a very low standing in the community, but I would encourage young people who are perhaps even thinking about public life to look at it in a more positive vein, and whether it's leading their local surf lifesaving club or running for local council or even running for state government or even federal government, it's a way to serve the community and achieve good things, but don't expect it's going to be easy, because there is going to be a fair bit of criticism from time to time. But I think politics can be quite an honourable profession to pursue.
Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party gaining a little more interest and popularity perhaps. Are they becoming the new national party?
No, I think the National Party's become the new National Party. We've been around for 100 years. We've been written off at every election since about 1920, I think. In the last election, we held every one of our federal seats, and we successfully transitioned 2 of them in the House of Representatives. So the Nats, while we often get this story that we're on the way out the door, are at quite a high level now in terms of the last 20 years. When I first joined as a member in 2008, we had 9 lower house members. Now we've got 16. So I think we're going quite well. But you don't collect these seats of Parliament and put them on a mantelpiece and look at all these lovely trophies. You've actually got to do something with them. And so we have to use our numbers in the House of Representatives to extract good programs, good policies, benefits for regional people. The Liberal Party are our friends, but they're actually our business partners. And as business partners, we have to negotiate a strong deal, a good deal, and deliver for our people. And our people don't live in the cities. So from time to time, there's going to be friction between us and the Liberal Party, and that's okay. We can have that friction because we know who sends us there to represent them. And those communities, those 16 communities, those 16 electorates all around regional Australia who want us to deliver a fair deal for them. And our ambition is to win more of those seats, to win more of those regional seats and have even more influence on the coalition arrangements to get even better outcomes for regional people.
Darren Chester, thank you very much.
Thank you.